even a better year for 2016, 2017. Go ahead and do next slide, please. So like many webinars, we have the temptation to be multitasking. So if we could have your full attention, it would be much appreciated. We have muted you. There will be some opportunities for the presenters, but just be careful that we are muting this presentation. And then if you have questions, go ahead and enter them into your chat box, and you can send them over to all, and we can go ahead and address those in the chat box. Webinar evaluation after discussion and closing, we will be asking you, for any comments and questions that you have. And this webinar is recorded by UC CalFresh TAPS Resource. There will be a recording, and it will be posted on the TAPS Resource page. So in case if you wanted to revisit this or share it with other people, it will be provided on the UC CalFresh TAPS Resource page, which I know you've been using. Go ahead and go with the next slide. So these three objectives we've come together and put for you. The technical advising professionals will examine and understand the results of 2015-2016 Smarter Lunchroom Scorecard data, so you'll see that as a whole. You will also identify ways to improve your data entry knowledge for outcome success. And then we will also be talking about marketing your successes and being able to really talk about those stories and small wins and big wins so that the board and other individuals can know about your successes, as well as we want to know them so that we can share them out. This is what today's agenda will look like. We'll be having Marianne Mills kind of talk about last year, what those survey results look like, what we can do for next year, and some caveats of how we can do a little bit better in putting in our data entry. Leslie Pring, which is, she is a Community Nutrition Advisor for Dairy Council of California. She'll be talking about marketing success stories, and after each presenter we'll be having question opportunities as well. And then I'll be presenting on a few future tools and resources. And with that, I will send it over to Marianne.
Great, thank you, Candace. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our quarterly TAPS webinar. As Candace said, my name is Marianne Mills. I am the Smarter Lunchrooms lead for the UC CalFresh Nutrition Education Program, and I'm going to be presenting the Smarter Lunchrooms Movement Scorecard data from this last school year and the school year previously to you. You should have all received data for your county on Smarter Lunchrooms, and so today I'm just going to give an overview of the data that was already sent to you. I definitely want to make sure to acknowledge Barbara McNelly and Ashley Mulcahy, who are both analysts with our UC CalFresh Nutrition Education Program and did the majority of the work on analyzing and aggregating and sharing out this data with you. So without their hard work, this would not have been possible. So I wanted to start off with a quick question, and you can type your answers into the chat box. So did you receive your scorecard data for your county, and if so, how have you used it? So go ahead and take a couple seconds to type your response into the chat box. Some possible answers could be if you're sharing it with your schools, maybe to give them an overview of the success that you've had in the last year, potentially including it in any reports that you've written up, presenting it to school boards, or presenting it to your manager. Great, we have something that just came in. So talk with other TAPs in my organization, talk about it in wellness committee meeting. Okay, we had someone who said they didn't know, so that's good to know. Make sure that you talk with people in your organization to see if they've received the email. The email did go out to all supervisors and certified technical advising professionals in each county. All right, thank you for participating in that question. So let's get into the content of today's presentation. So looking back over the last 2 years, so our Smarter Lunchroom Scorecard data since April of 2014, which is when we first opened our data collection portal, we've had 378 assessments completed and entered into the system. We've reached approximately 112 school districts, And within those school districts, we've reached 229 schools. Of those schools, about 48% have been assessed 2 or more times. So we're starting to really see some progression with the data that was entered. 166,899 students are enrolled in the schools where we've conducted assessments. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they've all been impacted by Smarter Lunchrooms, but that's just a number to see that that's how many students are in the schools where we've done at least one assessment. And we've had about 58 TAPs enter data into the scorecard system. So that's about half of the TAPs that we currently have certified, so we're hoping that this number will increase this next year now that we've had more certified TAPs that became certified within the last school year. So now looking at the scorecard data for this last school year only, we've completed 226 assessments total, reaching 78 school districts in 148 schools. And you can see that our number of schools that have been assessed more than once has gone up a little bit, which is exciting. That's what we want to see. We want to see TAPs conducting a first assessment and then a second assessment after changes have been made. So this year alone, 99,521 students were enrolled in the schools where we did assessments, and we had about 49 TAPs report into the system. And again, we're hoping that number will increase this coming school year. So looking at changes in Smarter Lunchroom scorecard data over time, we've had 78 schools that have been assessed 2 or more times, so more than once. So on average, the first assessment score was a 42, and on average, the most recent assessment score was 56. So that's a pretty big increase. So we've had about a 14-point increase or a 33% increase in schools that have been assessed 2 or more times. And on average, almost every scorecard category increased, and we're going to look at the categories right now. So in looking at our focusing on fruit category, on average, the score increased by about 2 points. For promoting vegetables and salad, the score increased on average about 1 point. Moving more white milk, the score increased on average by 1 point. Entree of the day, on average, the score increased by 2 points. Increasing sales and reimbursable meals increased on average by 1 point. Creating school synergies, signage, priming, and communication, this was our area where we saw the most overall increase, so this was on average a 3-point score increase. Lunchroom atmosphere was also higher than the others, on average a 2-point score increase. Student involvement, it did increase by about 1 point. And the only 2 that we didn't see an increase in was recognition and support of school food and a la carte. And so those are areas that we could potentially start focusing more on. So if you really look at breaking it down by category, it kind of reveals some information on where we're really focusing our efforts. So we did also collect some qualitative data using the Survey Gizmo. As you all probably recall, one of the questions was, which strategies have been adopted? So this is if you've done 1 or more assessment, this question pops up for you to kind of indicate what changes were made because of this assessment. And so the 3 most common SLM strategies were increasing signage. So of those that made changes, 50% said they hung posters, 49% they said they updated the menu boards, and 36% said that they updated or made food labels. Looking at milk, that was the second highest or most commonly adopted strategy, placing white milk first. About 35% of people who said that changes were adopted said that that was one of their strategies. And then the last one was fruit, so putting fruit in bowls and baskets, that simple trick. About 21% of people said that was one of the changes that was adopted based on the intervention. So we had a lot of really great qualitative data that was entered, and some of you even entered quotes from the people that you work with, and I wanted to share a couple of those because I think it's always helpful to see the numbers, but it's always really great to hear the impact that you're having out of the mouths of the people that you're working with. So the first quote was, a food service director at a neighboring school district suggested we try the grab-and-go meals. I was not sure if it would work out, but the students love them and it is so easy. We want to do them every day now. So that's a huge success. The next one is, the new spring menu board looks great. I love the peppy words given to the items. It makes them sound extra yummy. And that one actually came from a parent, which is cool. So we're starting to see that we're having an impact on more than just the students and the teachers and the food service staff. And then the last one is, after making the many changes to improve the appeal of the service and dining area, they feel that students are providing them with more respect through their interactions. So that was a quote from a TAP who interviewed food service staff and got that feedback. So really, overall, a lot of really great successes. Another area that we were really excited to see through our analysis of the data was that we had quite a bit of student involvement. So of the scorecard entries into the system, 21 reported specific ways that students were involved in implementing the SLM strategies that were adopted. And some of the more common things that we saw was student artwork. A lot of TAPs are working with student groups to get their artwork hung in the cafeteria that's promoting healthy messaging. We saw a few TAPs that reported that they're working on student nutrition advisory councils, which is really exciting because that's a great way to lead some youth engagement efforts. We even had a video that was conducted through one of the student nutrition advisory councils in Santa Barbara County, and we actually talked about that a little bit on our last webinar about youth engagement. Students were also involved in developing creative names for the food items in their cafeteria, and some cafeterias conducted taste tests and student surveys. So this is something that's really exciting and we're hoping to even build more upon. So this leads well into our areas for growth. So if you recall, there was a question on the survey gizmo that asked about school wellness policy, and so for 80 schools, so 55% of the schools that were assessed, TAPs reported serving on a wellness committee. So that's pretty good. About half of our schools where we have TAPs reporting serving on a wellness committee, that could be an area that we could focus a little bit more on moving forward. And like I said, student involvement was really great. We'd like to see that increase more this year too. It's kind of taking smarter lunchrooms to the next level. Recognition, so this is an area that was surprisingly low. Only 8 schools were currently recognized by the Healthier U.S. School Challenge, and 106 reported that they were not recognized. So that's an area that we as TAPs can encourage school food service to apply and get recognized and receive funding. And then lastly, this was actually probably our biggest surprise, is that nutrition education was only happening in about 65% of the schools where that were assessed. So that was about 94. We really anticipated that this number would be higher. So what we want to do is kind of hear from you about, why do you think that only 65% of the schools assessed received nutrition education? And again, go ahead and type your answer into the chat box. And I'd like to note that this was amongst all organizations. The number was quite similar. So Dairy Council, UC CalFresh, Public Health, it was all around 65%. So we're just trying to gain a better understanding of why that might be, and maybe there are different approaches out there. So we have one that came in that says, perhaps not enough nutrition educators are working with the youth. That's a great point. We have somebody that said that they don't feel they can ask the teachers to teach nutrition in the classroom. Okay, so maybe starting with a lunchroom is a great option and then moving into nutrition education. That's definitely a possibility. Any other thoughts on why this number is a little bit lower than we anticipated? Okay, so here's a great suggestion. I appreciate that. Maybe after an assessment we can talk to the principal, so reaching more administrators within the school. Great. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Obviously, one of the things that we in SLM of California really pride ourselves on is our connections that we make to the cafeteria with nutrition education and other activities. So the hope this year is that we'll really start increasing these numbers of nutrition education, and so that's kind of what we're asking of our TAPs this year, is to really make sure that they're making those connections. Oh, we had another comment come in. It says, we work in high schools and it's difficult to add it to the classes. Definitely true. I think sometimes it's really great if you start with the cafeteria and make changes there, and the teachers see the changes and the impact that it has. They might be a little bit more open to incorporating nutrition education into their classroom. And I know that Dairy Council and UC CalFresh both have some really great resources and curriculum that teachers can use that meet a lot of the standards that the teachers are required to reach. So that's another selling point that should be considered when we're working with schools. Great, thank you guys. So looking at the actual data, there were a couple of issues, and overall the data was really of high quality, and there wasn't a lot of cleaning up that we had to do, but I did want to note a couple of things for moving forward. So the primary issue that we ran into was scorecard sequence, so knowing which number scorecard you were on. We had a lot of different numbers thrown out, and it didn't really look sequential, and so we had to reach out to a lot of people to find out, was this your second, was it your third, was it your first? So kind of a tip for improvement is that you can refer to your county file and school-specific data to check your scorecard number. So you should all have access to that data. It was sent out in the beginning of September with, it's basically an Excel file for each county, and within that Excel file there is a page for each school. So you should be able to track that a little bit easier. The other thing to keep in mind too is really coordinating with partners in your county. Oftentimes we noticed that maybe at one point Dairy Council assessed the school, and then UC CalFresh came back and did another assessment, and they didn't necessarily know that that had happened previously. So that's helpful too. On that same note, we had a little bit of issues in some instances with dates. So sometimes people were writing down the wrong date, especially the month and the year. So go ahead and double check those, make sure that that information is accurate, because that really helps us understand the sequence of the scorecards as well. And then the other area was just some unclear write-in answers. So as you saw, we had a lot of qualitative data that we collected, and some of it wasn't very clear. And so we had to do a lot of follow-up with people about what exactly did you mean when you said this, or is there any way you can expand on this? So for that, for open questions, the more specific you can be, the better. Think of it as someone who doesn't really understand Smarter Lunchrooms is reading the data, so you really have to break it down for us. So looking at the updated survey gizmo, I know I've received quite a few questions about one. It's open, and I really appreciate all of your patience with this because it is taking a lot of time. But I did want to give you a quick update on that. So we're hoping to have it open in early November, and all of you will receive an email when it's open so you can start entering your data into the system. There aren't going to be a lot of updates, but there are a couple of things that we changed that you should be aware of. So in the past, we had a section about strategies adopted, and we listed some common strategies. And instead of doing that this year, we're actually aligning it specifically with the scorecard. So that's a little bit of an update, but I think that's going to really help us have more clear data and have it connect back to the actual scorecard itself. And then we're also adding in a field to identify team nutrition schools, especially because now that the grant is underway and schools are really starting to do their assessments and implement changes, we want to make sure that we can easily identify the schools that are team nutrition schools. So those are just a couple of the changes. Again, I will send out an email very soon with the updated link, and you should be able to start inputting your data. And if you have any questions about that, you can definitely contact me. So that is the end of my presentation, and I just wanted to leave it on this note that in case you have not been adequately informed, please consider this official notification that you are awesome. I mean, all of the work that you've done this year, or this last year, and the year before that is really impressive, and I am happy to see the changes that you're making and the impact that you're having at the local level, and there's no way that the Smarter Lunchrooms movement of California would be anything if it weren't for the work that you all are doing. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to give you some tips for sharing your success stories.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Pring. I am with a community nutrition advisor with the Dairy Council of California and also a TAP as well. So today I'm just going to be talking about how do we share our success and tell your Smarter Lunchroom story. So I think Marianne shared some really great data, really highlighting the overall improvement that we have helped schools accomplish in their scorecard assessments. So now is time to encourage that positive change, and really is the time to share your success and build upon the positive momentum created by your Smarter Lunchrooms makeover with your school or district team to inspire future collaborations and to create a culture of continuous improvement and ongoing sites. So, and with that, to recruit new schools and districts in your area. So telling your story, why is it important? Well, for one, if a school runs a successful Smarter Lunchrooms makeover or intervention and nobody ever hears about it, how do we know if it's making a true difference in our school? So we really want to tell the story from start to finish and the next steps to maintain that momentum and expand SLM programming with sharing our success. And I think Marianne had a slide where it said that 106 schools were not recognized with U.S. Healthier School Challenge. So we really want to recognize them and the hard work that they're doing, because we know it's a lot of time invested and resources spent on really creating that new and improved lunchroom atmosphere. So with that, sharing the credit is huge, because we also like to be thanked as TAPS, and we want to thank our collaborators for their roles. Whether it's small or large, we're all helping to enact a positive difference in the lunchroom and making it fun for students, which I think Marianne shared some really great testimonials. And publicly acknowledging the groups that are involved or individuals that helped make that Smarter Lunchroom makeover a success. So as a collaborative, we've kind of had started that this past year with highlighting through the monthly nudge and sharing the success stories of what those schools in our state have been doing. So really, after you complete the DPI or intervention process in a school or district, we really want to share that success to springboard into other schools, because other schools want to see what is being done in their district and try to replicate it or do something better. So we always want to think about our success and sharing the credit, thanking our collaborators, and really creating that testimonial, because then that can be used for going to their school wellness committee or their school board, or really making the case for why this is an important program to have in their district or school. And we've seen with the adopted strategies, a lot of schools go for signage and posters and menu boards or rearranging the salad bar, and all of those are successes, and we really want to highlight that. So where do we start? We want to start with really thinking about the elements of our story. Everyone loves a good story, and Smarter Lunchroom makeovers provide the best story elements. We have healthy kids, we have hardworking teams, we have a new transforming look, whether it's a school that's put in a brand new mural or they've added posters and more color. They've created this positive change where students are feeling welcomed and invited in the cafeteria, or frontline staff is feeling empowered to make a difference beyond serving everyday healthy meals. And we're making connections with our community, with our parents, and with principals. So all of those are really great recipes and ingredients to this story. And when we think about student involvement, that is the best kind of ingredient there. If a school is now having a snack group, or they're doing more taste tests, or they're empowering students to shape their menu, or creating videos, those are all things that should be shared and really elevated to that higher level for recognition. So we want to think about, what does our Smarter Lunchrooms makeover look like, and really take notice to what we're doing to organize our story, to really show the impact beyond cafeteria. I think Marianne shared a testimonial of a parent that's recognizing changes, and that is the biggest testimonial that we could collect and share within the district and make that case for Smarter Lunchrooms. So when we gather our materials, we want to organize it into a story that we can share. We really want to capture the before and after through photos of the lunchroom, whether it's they've put up a mural, or they've put up signage on the salad bar, or they're rearranging the milk cooler, or they're having students engaging with their peers on taste testing. So really capturing those photos and organizing it, because that's what paints the picture of the story. We really want the data too, so using your scorecard of really showing the change through numbers, because those higher stakeholders like superintendents and principals and community partners that may be on board with joining you really want to know what is the change and how is it being measured, and we have that as TAPS. and then collecting quotes from our stakeholders. So, what are students seeing in their cafeteria? What is the food service director seeing in the changes of their staff or the morale? Or, have they been bringing in more training and making it part of their monthly meetings? What have school staff noticed? Are they wanting to dine in the cafeteria more? And what are the administrators, and so on. You could even get the janitor. Everyone in the school is a stakeholder as part of the Smarter Lunchroom. And we also want to give recognition by recognizing people through their names, organizations, and contributions, because everyone likes to be recognized, whether it's through a story or a really great impact to share. And then we also want to outline next steps. Is it the school plans on doing Smarter Lunchrooms in more schools next year? Is it 5 more schools? Or are they planning on starting a wellness committee and integrating Smarter Lunchrooms into their policy? Or is it they are really wanting to move forward with a snack group and having students really shape and work with the school food service department and to be their nutrition ambassadors? Because all of these is what other schools want to learn and glean from other schools to help replicate that and to provide them with supporting documents for moving forward. And we don't need a lot, so less is more. So if we have really great pictures, and we want to pick the best pictures. If we have a lot of testimonials, we want to pick the most impactful that is represented to your success. This is all really important. So now that you have all your pieces to your success, you're thinking, well, I don't want to write a story. I'm not comfortable with my writing, or I don't have time. Well, we've made it really easy. When I say we, it's a collaborative. We have a success story form. So this is where you can put in the name of the school, the contact, the type of kind of success. Was it around student involvement? Was it around the milk? Was it fruits and vegetables? Whatever you think is a true, a change in your school, positive, that is a success, in my opinion. So we've put everything together to enter your information, school information, partner information, and to give the, the kind of outline and structure to what the success looks like, and even an area to put your photos. So we've made it really easy for you to structure the success, so then we can put it together and work with you as a collaborative to really share this statewide. I think schools and districts really look for that. So we've made that really easy for you to acknowledge, and as at minimum have the basics of your information, school, partner, and kind of a few items of your success. We really want to highlight 2 to 3 positive successes or changes with that to really elevate this. So then, how do you get the success story form? Because you may be thinking, I don't have this on my computer and I really want this now so I can share the success. So you can always email the California Smarter Lunchrooms Movement of California Collaborative. Our email is up there, and we have the form because we are kind of finding a place for this right now where this would be best used and accessed from our partners and TAPS. And we will work with you and collaborate with you to really craft this success and really share this through the collaborative and through your regional networks and partners. So we just ask that you could complete the success story form. You can email us, ask questions. We'll have, whatever you need help with, we will help, because we really want to share these successes. So I think that is all I had in terms of recognizing and supporting our schools with Smarter Lunchrooms. So I will turn it back over to Mary Ann.
Thanks, Leslie. If anybody has any questions for Mary Ann or Leslie, you can enter them into the chat box and we can share them out. Oh, Ashley Barbie. Can the school food service staff or school champions fill out the form and share the info to the TAP? That's a great question. Leslie, can you answer that for us?
I think that would be a great example of collaboratively working with your school food service or school champions that are heading the Smarter Lunchrooms as a way to get their buy-in. Yes, I would encourage everyone that's a TAP to work with their school food service department or Smarter Lunchrooms team and really, crafting that best practice, because it is a collaborative team effort. So I definitely think that is a great example. Thank you for asking.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I would like to give you, this is Candace from Dairy Council, give you some updates on what's going on in the future. So November 11th, 12th, and 13th, the Smarter Lunchroom of California will be at the California School Nutrition Association Conference. And the conference's theme is Here We Grow Again. And we have Leslie. There's a nice picture of Leslie Pring. She's so pretty. She is going to be providing a TAP certification training, and that's on November 12th, which is a Saturday. There is a fee to be a member of the California School Nutrition Association, and then there is a fee to get into the conference, which is in Anaheim, at the Anaheim Convention Center. And if you are interested, and if there is budget for that, there is going to be a couple of different sessions beyond TAP certification training. Shannon Young will be going over the dietary guidelines for Americans, and then Heather Reed will be, I believe, providing a presentation on school wellness policies and LCAPs. Her title is If You're Not on the Table, You're on the Menu. So it should be fun. It should be exciting. We'll also have a booth in the convention center to provide school food service, frontline cafeteria staff, and others on information on the Smarter Lunchroom movement and sign up. Next slide. We are very, very, very excited to provide TAP's Smarter Lunchroom Toolkit, which will be coming soon. We're hoping the beginning of November. We really we have seen over the years that there is a need for one designated place to get kind of your all-encompassing resources. We started a couple years back with our TAPs, and we tried Google Docs, we tried folders and pamphlets, and then we moved to UC CalFresh's website, which has been very helpful, and we're grateful for that partnership. And so as time passed, we realized that a lot of these documents needed to be updated. We realized that they serve different purposes our first year of being technical advising professionals, and so we rounded up a group of people to look at the documents one by one, bullet point by bullet point, and really make it relevant for technical advising professionals for the year of 2016, 2017. This new online toolkit will be updated and altered as needed. So even though we have finished it, it is done, we're really excited, and it's just a matter of getting it up online. We recognize that the marketing world and the growth of the technical advising professional has really changed over the years, so we will be changing it as needed. There will be a username and password needed because this is exclusive to certified technical advising professionals, which is yet another great benefit of being trained as well as you have in all of the efforts that you've put in the technical advising professionalism. So thank you for that, and we'll be definitely letting you know about this toolkit, how to access it, and all the details for that. But we're really thrilled. And that will be housed on healthyeating.org. Next slide. I do want to let you know that Fuel Up to Play 60, there is a grant available. It's you can do a equipment grant and also promoting healthy eating and physical activities to schools, and it's really school by school site basis. I will be sending out the monthly nudge for October. The link is available on that, and so you can take a look at the application. It is a very simple application. What they're really looking for is promoting all 5 food groups, promoting physical activity, and nutrition education. And so that is just a wonderful opportunity to get funding for our schools. And with that, we are concluding. However, we'll give just a few moments of questions and comments. If you want to go ahead and enter them into the chat box, we will address those.
So I'm going to open up the lines so that you guys can actually just ask your questions out loud. If you don't have a question, if you could try to mute your phone, that would be helpful to eliminate any background noise. Before I do that, though, we do have a question that says, when will the preschool assessment be ready? That's a really great question. So at this point, there is an assessment that Team Nutrition in Minnesota developed that we have been recommending our TAPs to use. I've gotten some feedback that it's not an ideal tool, but for now you can use that, and I can send that as an attachment to a follow-up email with other documents for this. So anyone who attended today's webinar can receive that. I can also put it on our TAPS resource page. Great question. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the line so anyone who has a question can just ask it without having to type.
The conference has been unmuted.
Does anybody have any questions about the data that was presented, or on marketing your success stories, or on anything else related to Smarter Lunchrooms?
Marianne, this is Candace. I have a quick question about the future survey gizmo. I mean, is it pretty much going to be the same as last year's?
Yes, with the exception of the two things that I presented earlier. Yes, it is essentially going to be the same. So it shouldn't be too challenging. Here they are again. So strategies adopted are going to align more with the scorecard. So that's going to be a somewhat big change, but it should make it easier for people, again, to link back to their scorecard. And then we'll have a field for identifying Team Nutrition schools. At this point, those are the only two updates that we've added. And if there are others, they will be included in an email that's being sent out. I actually did have a question for you all, and that's if you have heard of any training requests at the local level within your counties or within your regions from either food service staff or other community partners that are interested in receiving Smarter Lunchrooms movement training this year.
I don't generally like speaking for specific people, but I know that in the Orange County region, there have been some public health individuals that wanted to get trained. There's some food service directors that want to get trained. I know a few in LAUSD were kind of inquiring about that.
Great, thank you. If you do receive any requests at the local level, it would be great to send them up to your state contact. So for Dairy Council, that would be Candace. And for UC CalFresh, that would be me. And for the local health departments, that would be their project officers. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions. But as we mentioned, you can email us anytime with any questions that you have. Lots of updates to come soon with the new TAPS toolkit and the updated survey gizmo, so you should expect to hear from us again soon. Our next TAPS webinar will be in January, and we'll be sending out a reminder notification of that. So thank you so much for attending today. Again, this will be recorded and posted on the TAPS resource page, so if you want to share it with anyone who you think would benefit from hearing this information, please do. Thank you.
Thank you.